Hi there, and welcome to class number 4 of the Parent Chat Co-Parenting course. The subject in this class is deciding on a successful co-parenting plan, which basically I'm going to help you create a co-parenting relationship that is fair without hidden agendas or personal gains. Now, if you have watched this Parent Chat Co-Parenting course in sequence, then you would have already viewed the videos for class number 1, 2, and 3. So by now, hopefully, you have learned how important it is to keep the child or children first in these in different situations, right? Because how it affects them. So you've learned that dealing with conflict privately is in the best interest of your child. Allowing him or her to love both parents equally and separately and privately is also something that I shared with you in different ways of how you can establish that. And also, hopefully, you have discovered and accepted your new role in the relationship, in your current relationship with your ex or soon to be ex. So, this class number 4 is about really accepting and deciding that you are going to create a successful co-parenting class without any hidden agendas or personal gains. Okay, so I'm going to get into that, but I'm going to give you a couple of tips and different ways that you can actually establish a wonderful co-parenting plan with your ex or soon to be ex. So first of all, what you need to do to create a plan is to understand all the different elements that are going to be important factors in parenting. So it is things like getting them to school. So you would make a list, okay, of all these different responsibilities in total, okay, that parents have or that you have, in raising your child or your children, right? So of course the list is probably going to include, how they're going to get to school, how they're going to get home, how they're going to get to and from after school activities, whatever that means for your family. Is it sports? Is it lessons? Is it clubs? Whatever your situation is and whatever activities that your child or your children are involved in. Another one is setting ground rules for the rules for if your child breaks a rule, what are the consequences. You want to put all this stuff down on paper, okay? And you also want to add medical, okay? So if your child goes to the doctor, or if a situation arises that needs medical attention and decisions that need to be made, you put all this down on a piece of paper, every single thing, okay? And you can, if depending how old your children are, your child or your children are, if you are in the preteen teenage years, you also want to put down how you would handle certain situations, right? So things that are gonna come up, it may not be now, but it's good to establish a foundation and a concrete plan of action with your ex or your soon to be ex now, so that if any of these situations arise in the future, you would have already known how you guys are going to handle it. Okay, so in this area, I want you to jot down, like if your child starts drinking alcohol or drug abuse, they start, experimenting with illegal drugs or even prescription drugs. Okay, you also want to add in there. So I got that risk-taking behaviors, okay? Dating, okay? Dating is not a risk-taking behavior. Risk-taking behavior is one subject, and the next one is dating. How will you, set the ground rules for that? So after you have this whole list of all these different responsibilities and different situations that may come up, right, in the near future or, in the foreseeable future, then you could sit down with your ex or your soon to be ex and say, listen, This is all the responsibilities and certain situations that may arise while we both are co-parenting our child or our children. So what I would like to do is create a plan of action and have answers to this and what the different roles are going to be in all these different situations. So let's just say we can knock off the first maybe 3 or 4 right away, and the answers to that, the drop-offs and the pickups and everything else is, okay, well, when you have the children during your week, then you would be responsible for all of that, and vice versa. Or, well, I only have them on the weekend, but I could definitely help during the week and pick them up after their activities and get them home to you. You know, you can work it out to where it can become very amicable, and what you're gonna experience at some point is that, okay, wow, I do have a partner here that is co-parenting with me. So the focus is not only what is in the best interest of your child or your children, but also the other thing is that establishing the relationship and knowing that we are a team and we are going to do whatever it takes to get this accomplished. Why? Because it's for your child or your children. Okay, so that is a way that you can create a successful co-parenting plan. Just write it all down and say, okay, this, that. Another way that, so that's one point, right? The second, so you have that list, and now the second step to that list is both of you coming to terms and establishing what the consequences are going to be for different rules if they are broken. So what you want to do here is be on the same page, okay? What you want to try to avoid is them being at the opposite parent's house and breaking some rules and then not being forced, because then there's no, you're not providing a good foundation for the child, right? And then what happens is there becomes an imbalance, right? There's an imbalance, and then the parenting structure changes because the child or the children start learning that, well, I can do this at, so whichever parent it is that's doing it, and then but when I'm over here I have to really be careful because I'm really going to get grounded, or I'm really going to have a different consequence if I was to break that rule here. So you don't want to have that. And the only way to really avoid that whole situation is to not ever have it start. And the only way that is going to happen is if you create a successful co-parenting plan from the very beginning. And then after you have all of that information down and you know how you would deal with certain situations and you're on the right page about different things, you can write it in a whole journal and make copies of it and then give it to your other parent so that they have their co-parenting kind of rule book, if you want to say, or plan of action, and then they have it there and then you have it there. And then after you've established all that, then I would recommend that you have a family meeting with your child or your children, and you go over these steps and you let them know what the schedule is going to be like, what the rules are, what the consequences for breaking the rules are, and also any other situation that may come up. You need to inform your child that they not only need to call you, but they need to call the other parent as well. So if they get into trouble at school, or if they get into some type of situation where they're hurt, they not only need to call the first parent, but they need to let the second parent know as well. So what you're trying to establish here is fairness across the board. So one parent is not left out of very important information that has to do with the child. Okay, now no hidden agendas here, okay, and no personal gains. So what that means is, don't just play nice because you may think, oh well, if I do all this stuff, maybe my ex or soon to be ex will change their mind and want to get back together with me. Okay, that is not the topic and that is not the goal here. Okay, the goal here is to create a successful co-parenting plan that you both are on board with. You both understand what each of your responsibilities are. You share that information with your child or your children. Everybody is on the same page, and that way you have a successful co-parenting experience. Okay. There was one more point that I wanted to make about this. Oh, okay. So after you have all of that done, right, and then you have you have the visitation, and you have all that established and everything. What I would recommend you doing, just to stay, you know, just to have a really good communication, really a good effective communication with your co-parenting partner here, is to maybe touch base maybe once a week and just have a conversation about your child or your children. Okay, and this has nothing to do with the other person's current situation, current dating situation, or anything, or yours. That's off limits. What you want to do is just, and you can even switch off. Say, oh, this week I'll call you and I'll update you, and we'll have a conversation about what's going on and new things that have happened during this week. Or you can even do it when their switch off is. So if you have them for the first 3 days or a week, and then you go ahead and the other parent then steps in and picks up the children. You could do it then, but please don't do it in front of the children. Do it privately on a telephone call, or go have coffee or something and then discuss this. Once a week or so would really be, that's an ideal situation. I know a lot of times it may not be realistic in certain people's schedules, or wherever their level is at in this certain situation, if they're still experiencing anger and hurt and not willing to meet the other parent halfway, or they're just not quite ready yet to have that level of communication with you. Just kind of respect whatever space that they're in, and hopefully they'll come around and realize that this is part of the co-parenting process, is to keep the communication open and to share the challenges and the victories, and just being parents. I mean, when you were still together and still married, that's what you guys did, right? And probably most likely on a daily basis, right? You would come home and they would come home, and then the kids would be home, and then everybody would get settled, and then you would say, oh, so and so got a B on this test, or so and so kicked the goalie here, or whatever. You're communicating, you're sharing your child's life and your experience with your other partner that didn't know what had happened yet, right? So that's kind of like where I'm going toward this successful co-parenting plan. Keep the rest of the stuff on the shelf. Talk to your friends about it. Vent and relieve yourself from all that other stuff that the different tips that I provided for you in the other classes. Will help guide you through that. But if you are in class number 4, then you are ready to create the successful co-parenting plan and hopefully have a wonderful experience and outcome with it. Okay. If you decided to print out the PDF for this whole course, then you can go ahead and fill in the blanks for class number 4. And also don't forget, on the very bottom there's a couple of questions. That's a mini quiz, just to kind of see if you're on a right path and effectively listening to the content and information here that is going to help you become one of the best co-parenting people out there, right? That's what your goal is. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope I see you in class number 5. Goodbye now.